Welcome to Movie in a Nutshell. In today's story, it opens in a small village where Uncle Singh bursts with excitement after receiving official approval for the long-awaited salt factory. He hands the document to Shambhu, urging him to deliver it to Master at once. Elsewhere, the village chief presides over the lively pot-breaking festival. But the crowd's attention suddenly shifts when Master arrives with his wife. People flock toward him with such enthusiasm that the chief is left stunned. Despite the overwhelming welcome, Master politely approaches the chief, treating him with respect, while the chief remarks bitterly about how the villagers' admiration has practically crowned the Master as their leader. Amid the celebration, young Vijay appears, a fierce, spirited boy admired for his courage. His friends form a human pyramid, and with everyone cheering, he climbs swiftly and smashes the festival pot, drawing joy from the entire village. At that moment, a messenger brings wonderful news to Master, who beams with happiness. After the festivities, the older youth in the group distributes payment for their participation. Everyone receives 2 rupees except Vijay, who is handed 3. Vijay rejects the unfairness, insisting that all of them contributed equally. But the older boy dismisses him and even shoves him aside. Vijay, furious, attempts to confront him physically but is stopped when his father intervenes. The father scolds him harshly, leaving Vijay hurt and frustrated. He withdraws beneath an old village tree and breaks down crying. His father follows, gently reminding him that anger and tears solve nothing. Vijay protests, unable to accept injustice, but his father cautions him against violence, explaining that revenge only breeds more harm. He teaches Vijay the value of using strength wisely, not to dominate, but to uplift the weak. Those who protect others, he explains, become leaders in the hearts of people. Then, father and son recite their family's guiding verse about compassion, duty, and facing life's trials with honor. Meanwhile, trouble brews. Nima warns the pompous village chief that Master Dino's rising respect threatens his status. The chief nervously awaits the arrival of Kancha, whose return is expected the next morning. Kancha appears the following day and inspects the new salt factory. A handful of salt triggers painful memories of his childhood, the insults, the mockery over his appearance. Overwhelmed, he shatters a mirror until his father restrains him, reminding him to stay calm. Later, Kancha seeks entertainment in a tavern, challenging patrons to dangerous underwater endurance games for money. When one man nearly drowns, Kancha forces him back under, bribing the man's friend to stay silent. Master intervenes in time to save the victim and reprimands Kancha for valuing wealth over human life. But Kancha insists that money is power and pleasure, believing it grants influence above all else. Master urges Kancha to treat the villagers with dignity if he wants their respect. But Kancha dismisses the idea entirely. In his mind, affection and admiration can be purchased, and he boasts that his wealth will let him elevate his family and everyone connected to him. He promises to build a salt empire, far larger than anything the village has seen. He claims that his production will supply not just their own people, but markets beyond their borders. His grand promises win over the crowd, and they applaud loudly. Emboldened, he announces that he will need their lands to build the huge factory. They will still receive income from their property, he says, but ownership and profit will lie with him alone. He paints a vision of shared prosperity and unmatched glory, and the villagers, dazzled, give their approval, while Master watches in helpless anger. Determined to stop him, Master gathers everyone beneath the old tree. He reminds them of his love for the village and warns them not to trust Kancha's intentions. He assures them that their modest factory already produces enough, and with patience and effort, it can grow naturally without surrendering their land. Far from the villagers' ears, Kancha reveals his true plan to his men. The salt his factory will produce is cocaine. He intends to make the villagers dependent by giving it out freely, only to trap them later by selling it back to them at a price. In his vision, addiction will turn the entire community into obedient servants. One of his henchmen rushes in to report that the master is persuading the villagers to resist. Kancha bursts into sinister laughter. That evening, a young girl enters the school building, calling out for Master. She claims he summoned her, but Master is at home when he notices the school lights on. Confused, he rushes over and finds the girl collapsed inside. He begs to know who harmed her. Seeing his son, Vijay, he asks him to fetch his mother immediately. Outside, Kancha rings the village bell, waking everyone. As the villagers gather, his men quietly torch Master's house. The girl's father arrives and finds his daughter dying. She points weakly toward Master before taking her final breath. The crowd turns on Master instantly, blinded by grief and fury. Before he can speak a word, Kancha seizes him and drags him through the village like an animal being led to slaughter. Little Vijay runs after them, clinging to his father at the old tree, but the villagers shove him aside, calling his father unworthy of living among them. Under the branches where he once taught lessons of honor, Master is hanged and killed. Vijay buries his father alone. He and his pregnant mother mourn deeply. Then comes the final blow. Kancha banishes them from their home forever. The two make their way to Mumbai. No sooner do they arrive than Vijay's mother goes into labor. Desperate, Vijay runs from door to door begging for help. Everyone refuses, until he reaches the home of Key's mother, who follows him to assist. Realizing the woman is giving birth, she tells her own daughter to take Vijay outside. Confused and frightened, he tries to return but is stopped. Moments later, Key's mother emerges with a newborn girl, placing the infant tenderly into Vijay's arms. In that instant, the baby becomes the center of his world. Months pass. One day, Vijay spots Kancha in the area where he works. Abandoning his job, he follows him. Kancha goes to meet Ralph Lala, a ruthless trafficker who controls illegal trade and abducts young girls from the neighborhood for profit. Kancha presents a sample of cocaine from his factory. Ralph questions its origin, but Kancha's assistant shuts him down, demanding he only concern himself with its quality. Kancha announces that he wants to distribute his product across Mumbai. Ralph folds his arms and sneers at Kancha. "So, what terms are you talking about?" he says. "The only thing to look at here is your miserable face. Ugly on the outside and rotten on the inside. You slave in Mumbai for years, and now you show up wanting to push your product in my territory? Get lost. Take your trash and disappear." Insulted, Kancha snaps. He grabs a mirror from the table and smashes it across Ralph's face before Ralph's men pin him down. Ralph wipes the blood, unfazed. "I'm sparing you," he says coldly. "Not because you deserve it, but because today is my son Mazar's birthday. Come tomorrow, and the day won't be so forgiving." Vijay watches all of this from the shadows. Kancha is released. Days later, Ralph storms into the neighborhood where Vijay lives. His men drag a local man out of his home. Ralph confronts him. "Kancha paid you to kill me, and you took the money." The man falls to his knees, begging for mercy. Ralph lifts his chin. "Mercy is for men who can defend themselves. My boy who died couldn't. Now you'll join him." And without hesitation, Ralph kills him. The entire area trembles with terror. Everyone except young Vijay, who stands firm, staring back at Ralph like a predator sizing up another. Ralph approaches him. "Who are you, kid?" "Vijay," he answers calmly. "Ha! First time I've seen you," Ralph says. "That's because I don't show myself unless I want to," Vijay replies. Ralph chuckles. "Sharp tongue. You're not an easy one." Spotting Key beside them, he asks her mother who she is. When she tells him, he mutters, surprised. Didn't realize she'd grown this much. Then he walks off. Later, Officer Shinde contacts Kancha. The man you sent to kill Ralph. Ralph caught him today and finished him. Kancha asks, "Witnesses?" "He killed him in the middle of the settlement," Shinde says. "The boy Vijay was there. He didn't fear Ralph at all." Kancha answers, "Good. Make the boy testify." The next day, they drag Vijay to the police station. The inspector tries to reassure him. "Don't be scared, son. Point out the killer." Vijay scans the group and locks eyes with Ralph. The inspector repeats his question, but Vijay remembers his father's teachings. Strength isn't violence. It's choosing wisely. So he says, "None of them." The inspector insists, "Ralph killed that man." Vijay keeps his gaze steady. "It wasn't him." Ralph shrugs at the officer. "See? He just told you." He walks away, unharmed. Shinde loses his temper. Vijay's mother slaps her son for lying. Vijay tells her, "I want revenge for my father. Everyone here fears Ralph. But if I work with him and grow stronger, then one day others will fear me." His mother panics. "We're leaving this place. I won't let these thoughts poison you." Before they can leave, Kalia comes running. "Hurry! Shinde is beating my mother outside, demanding to know where you are." Shinde is indeed attacking her when Vijay shows up. Vijay grabs him and throws him aside. Shinde tries to act friendly. "There you are, sweetheart. I was looking for you." But Vijay snatches his gun, pointing it at his chest. Both Shinde and Vijay's mother shout for him to stop, but Vijay pulls the trigger, shooting Shinde straight through the heart. Holding the gun, Vijay walks directly to Ralph. Years speed by. Ralph remains untouchable. Now a feared legend known as the Beast of the Den appears, climbing over his men and smashing a ceremonial pot, just as he does every year. Afterward, he attends the opening of Key's new beauty salon. When she completes her first day, she tells him proudly, "I made 5,000 rupees today. This is your share." Vijay smiles faintly. "Keep it. I don't need it." She found him sitting alone on a high ledge, withdrawn. When she sat beside him and asked what troubled him, he brushed it off, saying nothing was wrong. But she knew him too well. She told him gently that he carried too many burdens, that he wouldn't even think about marriage until he completed whatever mission he had set for himself. She admitted she was just a woman with her own hopes, but she was willing to stay by his side the way things were. He embraced her quietly before parting ways for the night. Later, Vijay watched from a distance as his mother and younger sister, Shikha, prepared for the day. As Shikha left for school, he placed her birthday gift at the doorstep, just as he had every year. Suddenly, she returned, saying she had forgotten her water bottle. She stopped short when she saw him. Recognizing him instantly, she confronted him. She had been waiting a long time to discover who delivered gifts for her every birthday. Their mother appeared behind her, and Vijay froze. Shikha asked again who sent the presents. Vijay lied, claiming he was just a delivery boy from a shop. Before anyone could say more, he slipped away, his mind returning to an earlier argument with his mother, the moment he vowed never to abandon his father's memory. His mother had warned him that vengeance would destroy him just as it had consumed his father. He told her he didn't care. If he died pursuing justice, that would be enough. The next day, he resumed work with Ralph. A longtime customer arrived, complaining that Ralph's son, Mazar, wanted to increase the price of cocaine. Mazar barked back arrogantly, and when Vijay told him to watch his tone, Mazar snapped at him too. The customer warned that other suppliers offered better product at a lower price. Mazar sneered and refused to sell to him. Ralph responded with a harsh slap, chastising his son for taking drugs while doing business. Suspicious about the sudden competition, Ralph wondered who could be selling pure heroin in Mumbai at a cheaper rate. Vijay gave the answer, Kancha. A lavish party was underway, and Kancha's man, Shuntum, delivered the drugs into a hidden warehouse. After storing the shipment, he went to wash his face, only to hear a sound behind him. Vijay emerged from the shadows, warning him that the inspector was on his way. When Shuntum asked how he knew, Vijay reminded him that no inspector would ignore a minister who smuggled cocaine during a private celebration. The inspector soon arrived with his officers. Vijay discreetly offered the minister a favor. He could dispose of the cocaine before the search. The next morning, Ralph assembled his men and announced that since Vijay had eliminated the threat posed by Kancha's people, he was granting Vijay authority over 2 territories, Bakriata and Dongri. From that moment on, Vijay would rule them. Mazar, however, confronted his father afterward, upset that he had not been given the territories himself. Ralph told him that he could have them someday, but only if he cleaned up his drug habits and proved himself worthy. Mazar asked what would happen to Vijay then. Ralph replied coldly that Vijay might live, or he might not. Just then, a boy returned one of Ralph's shoes, which had been mixed up with Vijay's identical pair. Ralph pointed out the mistake to Vijay, who apologized. Mazar mocked him for his carelessness. Before Mazar could finish, Vijay shoved him aside to protect him from a sniper's bullet. Chaos erupted, and they rushed Vijay to the hospital. The day of Mazar's wedding finally arrived. Ralph, proud and joyful, declared publicly that he now had not 2 sons but 3. He stepped outside to greet his guests when one of the men informed Vijay that someone was calling with important information. Vijay tried to ignore it, but Mazar seized the receiver, listening intently as someone told him Shuntum had plotted to kill him. Enraged, Mazar armed himself. Vijay attempted to calm him, reminding him it was his wedding day, but Mazar refused to listen. He vowed not to marry until Shuntum's dead body lay before him. When Mazar stormed out, Vijay followed closely. Mazar ambushed Shuntum's men, but Shuntum broke free and fled into a warehouse. When Mazar chased him inside, Shuntum shot him in the leg, forcing him to drop his weapon. In desperation, Mazar called out to Vijay for help. Shuntum emerged laughing. Mazar suddenly understood the truth. He had been led into a trap. He killed without hesitation. Back at the wedding, Ralph was still celebrating when Vijay appeared carrying Mazar's lifeless body. Horror swept through the gathering. Ralph collapsed in shock, falling unconscious and slipping into a coma, leaving a power vacuum behind him. Vijay filled that void. His first act as the new ruler of Mumbai was to liberate the girls Ralph had trafficked for years, sending them home to their families. The people rejoiced, celebrating Vijay as their new king and savior. Vijay settles onto the throne when a call comes in. The man on the other end introduces himself as Kancha. Vijay masks the surge of anger and answers calmly, promising they can talk terms. Kancha wants to know if they have an agreement. Vijay tells him they'll finalize it only face-to-face. Kancha refuses to enter Mumbai, so Vijay offers to travel to Manda. Surya, confused, asks his boss if he's really going to welcome Vijay after he murdered their man. Kancha says the killing isn't the real concern. What unsettles him is why Vijay insisted on meeting in person when the deal could have been done over the phone. The next day, Vijay arrives in Manda. As he walks, he passes the ruins of his father's school, a flood of memories hitting him hard. Eventually, Vijay reaches the infamous tree and finds a crowd gathered. When he approaches, he realizes Kancha has executed someone, and the villagers are too terrified to even react. Kancha stretches out a hand. Vijay reluctantly accepts the handshake. When Vijay reveals he's come to claim Manda, Kancha storms into a rage. His men string Vijay up by his ankles in a warehouse, and Kancha beats him viciously, mocking the audacity of asking a king for his kingdom. Even battered and bruised, Vijay taunts him to stop the posturing and get to business. Kancha, almost impressed, lays out the real issue. With Ralph gone, Mumbai should already be his, except for one obstacle, the inspector. If Vijay kills the inspector, Kancha promises to hand Manda over. Vijay hears this and passes out. At that same time, Ralph comes out of his coma and escapes the hospital. He's told Shuntum and Mazar were both found dead, and that Vijay has gone to negotiate with Kancha. Furious, Ralph storms out. Vijay races back to Mumbai. One of his people confirms the nightmare. Ralph is parading his sister like merchandise, shouting for buyers. But before anyone can touch her, Vijay arrives like a storm. His girls clear a path and he charges forward. One man boasts he'll buy her for a fortune and reaches for her. Vijay shoots him dead on the spot. He dispatches the rest of Ralph's men. Ralph, enraged, refuses to stop the sale. He lunges again, but Vijay knocks him aside and lifts his sister to safety. Ralph demands she be handed back. Vijay shoves him away again, and Ralph strikes him. Vijay actually turns to leave, choosing not to kill him, until Ralph spits out filthy insults about his sister. That's the spark that sets Vijay off. He charges, grabs Ralph by the throat, and forces his face into the dirty water. As Ralph's lifeless body sinks into the water, Shikha clings to her mother, desperate for answers. She demands to know who the stranger is. Her mother finally breaks and whispers the truth. The man she just saw fighting like a storm is her brother. The revelation crushes them both. The next morning, Shikha gathers the courage to go to the neighborhood Vijay now rules. People rush to see her, crowding around until Vijay arrives. For the first time, they face each other as brother and sister. Vijay pauses, remembering the tiny baby he once carried. She steps forward and collapses into his arms, and he holds her with a tenderness he hasn't felt in years. The next morning, Surya arrives and reminds Vijay of Kancha's order: kill the inspector before the festival. Vijay instead goes directly to the inspector and warns him that Kancha plans to murder him. The inspector refuses to fear anyone. Vijay leaves. Meanwhile, Surya contacts Kancha and reports that Vijay disobeyed the order and spared the inspector. During the festival, Surya hunts for the inspector but runs into Vijay instead, and Vijay kills him first. The inspector visits Vijay with a photograph of Surya. He tells Vijay that he spent 15 years trying to understand him, and he now sees the truth. Vijay isn't after Mumbai's underworld throne at all. He used Ralph only to reach Kancha, reclaim Manda, and free its people. The inspector chastises him for killing Surya, aware that Kancha will retaliate brutally. After the inspector leaves, Ki bursts into tears. She rushes to Vijay and hugs him, admitting she knows his path leads to death. She promises to care for his mother and sister. She pledges her love and loyalty for the rest of her life. As she begins to walk away, Vijay stops her. He pulls out his marriage piggy bank, the childish symbol of a dream he never reached. He tells her to bring hers. They open both jars and pour their savings together, laughing through tears. The next day they marry. During the joyful procession, armed men appear suddenly, slaughtering the women at the front. Vijay reaches for the gun he carries. By the time he fights through the chaos, he finds Ki collapsed in her own blood. He gathers her in his arms, begging her not to die. Ki's bloodied hand trembles against Vijay's cheek as she whispers her last words. Kancha's aging father begins to shake, insisting that Vijay will come for them next. His fear proves true. Before dawn breaks, Vijay reaches the outskirts of the fortress and silently picks off the tower guards. Explosions ripple across the compound as he wipes out Kancha's soldiers one after another. Kancha watches the destruction with disbelief. When he turns, Vijay is already behind him, seated calmly, waiting. Vijay challenges him to show what he has left. Enraged, Kancha swings a heavy punch, but Vijay hardly flinches, as though his grief has turned him into stone. The two clash. Kancha, a giant of a man, overpowers him easily and snarls that he's waited 15 long years to finish the son just as he finished the father. Hearing those words ignites something feral in Vijay. He attacks with renewed fury, but Kancha's strength overwhelms him. Just as Kancha is about to snap his neck, his trembling father stumbles into the room, crying out that he warned him. Vijay has come to end them. Kancha shoves the old man aside, sending him tumbling down the staircase where he lies motionless. Kancha drags him by the collar and throws him near his mother and sister, who scream helplessly. Kancha slashes Vijay again, then hauls him outside. The villagers gather, shaken. Vijay's mother pleads with them, reminding them of how he risked everything to free them. Kancha sneers that the villagers never chose righteousness, they chose him. He plunges another blade into Vijay's stomach, ties a rope around him, and drags him toward the cursed tree, the same tree where his father met his end. When Vijay reaches it, he braces his palms on two stones, refusing to be lifted. Vijay surges up and lands a brutal punch that sends Kancha reeling. Kancha lunges back, grabbing Vijay by the throat. Yet somehow, through sheer will, Vijay hoists the monstrous man off his feet, slams him to the ground, and brings a massive stone crashing onto his spine. Kancha's body crumples. Vijay loops the rope around his enemy's neck and pulls with every last drop of strength he has left. Kancha's reign ends beneath that tree. Vijay collapses, roaring his father's name to the heavens. His mother and sister rush to him, holding him as his breath shudders. Vijay tells his mother that his duty is fulfilled. She cradles his face and confesses she never once hated him, that she loved him deeply and was proud to have him as her son. Vijay looks upward and sees the faint vision of his father, waiting with open arms. And in his final moment, he follows him. The story closes there, Vijay's vengeance complete, Manjua liberated, and a son reunited with his father beyond the world of the living. And that, my friend, brings this unforgettable tale to its final breath. A story carved from pain, loyalty, and unstoppable resolve, where one man chose to rise against the darkness that swallowed his world. Vijay's journey reminds us that even in the deepest injustice, a single act of courage can shake an entire kingdom of fear. If you enjoyed this retelling, make sure to stay tuned. There are many more epic stories waiting to be explored. And if there's a film you'd like to see broken down or rewritten in this style, just drop the title and I'll bring it to life for you. Until then, take care and keep the fire of great stories burning.